Hi there, it's Steph. Thanks for popping by. So today's card is kind of like the third part of my Simon Says Stamp An Arctic Christmas series. The first one was not a video, it was just a few cards, watercolor cards. And the second one was a Prismacolor card, sorry, but with a different color scheme. And I kind of wanted, I'm basically making all my Christmas cards with one stamp. I love that stamp, I said that before, but I wanted to go for something a bit more traditional, so I kind of went online and I looked at traditional Christmas color, and obviously what came up was red, gold, and green. So here we go, red, gold, and green. So I tried to kind of not do exactly the same that what I did on my last video, so it kind of varies a little bit. So if you haven't seen the other one, you may want to go and have a look. It's a lot more brighter, a lot more colorful, pinks, purple, greens, blues. Here is a lot more classic, and I was kind of thinking vintage to start with, but probably more classic colors. So anyway, here I started with the penguins, and I will only show you one out of the four because I did exactly the same way for every penguin, but that just helps me to kind of keep the video at a good length. I started with 3 reds, one medium, one light-ish, one medium, and one dark, and then the dark one was not quite dark enough, so I went for a brown, and at some point I ended up with 4 or 5 different colors, and I think at the end I just thought, no, that one is not needed, that's one like that. So what I did in the end is I laid down the light red, then I used a brown to do the edges, and then I used a medium red to kind of blend the brown with the light red, so that it kind of looks like it's not a brown, it's a deep red, but it kind of works because it does layer, so that's really good with Prisma. Then I moved on to the tree, and I'm still struggling with that tree. In the end, I think it's fine, but I don't think there's much to learn there. So I will just hover on the top of that, just a light green, medium green, dark green, and blending it as well as possible, bearing in mind that there's that little tinsel in the middle that makes it really hard to blend that space. I don't know if it's because I tend to feather quite a lot, and feathering vertically is not for me as comfortable. Maybe it would be with Copic, but with Prismacolor I don't find it very comfortable. So you can see me here, I do the same thing with the green trees. I start really light, then I put the dark on the edges as usual, and then I put my medium green in the middle, and I kind of blend everything together. And I think at the end I did add a touch of lighter green just to make it slightly lighter. Then I moved on to the snow, so I was snow cap, I think it's called. I was very, I put white, and then I will add a little bit of a very, very light grey, just for a hint of dimension. I use a gold pencil, sorry, which is, I can't use it very much, and it's, I don't know, can you tell me in the comments, can you see that it's gold, or does it just look brown? Because obviously I know it's gold, but on the video, I find that you can't really see that it's gold unless you tilt the card and you get light reflection on it. So please tell me what you think. There's a lot of red on that card, but I quite like it. I think it's quite nice. I kind of try to find a good balance between the red and the gold, because obviously you don't want everything red, but you don't want too much gold. So I think it's quite a good combo. And then for the presents, I went with brown, which I thought was quite good because the cardstock is at toned grey, which is kind of, it's called toned grey. I'm not sure why. It's grey, but there's a hint of brown in it. It's like a warm grey, really. Kinda. I'm gonna take one piece just to double check I'm not talking nonsense. It's a warm grey. Like, there's hints of brown in there. It's not proper brown. It's not craft. But there's still hints of brown. I mean, if you look at the texture of the paper, you can see all the little, I'm not sure it's called, it's like tiny little hairs the paper is made of, and these tiny little hairs are kind of brown, but the paper itself is kind of grey, and I think when you press it, it gives you that effect of brown grey colour. So I think it works quite well with the brown anyway, and I think it gives me that vintage look, traditional look, not too ole as we would say in French, not too crazy overboard and stuff like that. Here for the penguin, it looks like I went for a cold grey, but I've used a warm grey. and then I used the black and I just blended it together, and it's quite nice. For the ice cap, here you go, you can see me. I added a light touch of grey, and I used the colorless blender, which is really good, to blend the grey with the white and make sure that the snow is smooth and not textured and things like that. Here I went for that kind of it makes me think of a fairy effect based on other people's work. You know, when you do the white in a very textured way, so very light hand, and it looks textured because it's not like a plain coverage. That makes me think of fairies and stuff. If you kind of know there's one really popular coloring artist, but I don't want to mention names because I don't know if they would be okay with it. But it's someone who does a lot of Disney character and uses a lot of that light hand to do the kind of magical swirl around the character, and I thought that was quite cool. So I kind of was thinking about that when I did that. Then I went on to doing my shading because I didn't want to do like the previous card. I did a night sky background and the mountain and stuff. Here I wanted to stay, let's say, a bit more classic. And I decided to just go back to what I do quite a lot, which is adding a lot of shading so it looks like it's popping off the card, and I do really like using that. I had to refill my markers because they were pretty dry, and there's one thing I wanted to kind of mention, because I know a lot of people will use Copic markers. Some people will use Pro markers. I think they're a bit more affordable. I used to have some personally. I did not like them. I couldn't blend anything with them. But that might just be me because there's other people using them and they seem quite happy with them. So I moved on to Copics, and I love Copics, but Copics are expensive, and I mostly have Chows, so they are the cheap ones. But you still have to buy the refill because when I'm blending, so I need a lot of juice in my markers. And Prisma it sounds expensive when you spend 40 quid. I mean, I spent 40 because the box was considered as used because basically it was dented. But I spent £40 on my Prismacolor box, and I've had it since Christmas. And a few of the pens are quite small, but the others are still a very, very decent size. And I think one of them, I used them this way for the first time, and I had it for 9 months, so it's pretty good. So in terms of investment, I think the Prisma is a really good investment if you like coloring with pencil. And you get such a good blending. I know it's not Copics, it's different, but it's in my head, there's competition. So anyway, so I use a Copic, very juicy Copic, to make sure it blended as well as possible. Warm grey Copics for all my shading, and I've been mumbling, so you've seen all the shading happen. And then I use the Sakura Black Glaze pen, which may be confusing because the cap is actually grey, but it's black. It's 849, and that's the one I use to retrace the outline, as you can see here. And then I added a few dots of glitter with the Copy Speak at You, and it was just a little bit, it's not much, but you can see it on the photo. So I hope you like this card, this more traditional take on this Arctic Christmas. If you do, please like the video, don't hesitate to subscribe to my channel, share, don't forget the notification bell at the top, and if you would like to see the photos, please head over to my blog. Thanks again for watching and have a great day. Bye!